So you went to Berkeley, then you said you were a session guitarist or session musician just in general. So session guitarist out in
Guitarist.
LA.
Yeah.
Can
Mm-hmm.
you speak about that? I just
Yeah,
so part
man.
of the reason I want to kind of hear your backstory because I think so many people see the where we are now and they think, oh my gosh, they just got how did they get there? And that's so important to me because I have this journey as a musician and I try so hard to document everything so that people could see, oh, like they see my channel now and they're like, oh, I'll never be able to get there. It's like, well, no, it started by, playing a show in front of nobody or doing a video and getting 6 views to now. So I want to hear this whole story into, how we have now you have the #1 EP produced in the Philippines. Or actually, I think it's #7 in pop on in general right now. I think I saw. Um,
That's
I'll
awesome.
check.
Yeah.
I'll check while you're telling this story, but I think it's #7 total.
Yeah, man. So from a young age, I've been a musician from a very very young age, and growing up, I was always exposed to pop music. I was, uh, funny. You actually mentioned on I think it might have been YouTube on like the previous thumbnail because I noticed that either you changed the thumbnail or you changed the title that I played for Gary Valenciano,
Yes.
which yes, and my mom was a very involved musician. I actually know of the Valenciano family because my mom used to be a
Oh,
backup
okay.
singer for Gary and be part of
Wow.
her backing band. Yeah, so from a very young age, I was exposed. I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind, and Fire, NSYNC. I'm an NSYNC fanboy, not a Backstreet Boys guy. Sorry. Um, but that one always kind of, to me, that was what I always wanted to do. And so people would always ask me, well, what's the end goal?
Hmm.
And I always believe that it's very important to have an end goal so you know what direction you're going for. And my end goal was always, especially when I started playing guitar, I wanted to play guitar for, well, let's say right now, I want to play guitar for Bruno Mars. I want to be Bruno Mars's musical director.
Wow. I love
So
that,
that's
man.
definitely like the
I love it.
direction. Yeah, man. That's the direction that I'm going for. And when you come out of Berkeley, especially as an international student like myself, because I was born and raised here in the Philippines. I have a Philippine passport, and the U.S. is kind of strict with their international laws and visas and stuff like that with regards to work. You're given a year of legal work in the United States immediately after your program is done. It's up to a year and a half, but yeah, that's kind of playing with some of the dates, and so I had to make a choice, which was like, okay, what do I do? I'm sure anybody who has gone to college in the United States or gone to college in general, as soon as you graduate, you're like, all right, now what? Right? There's always that moment of like, well, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Um, so what for me, I definitely had that. I was waiting on different offers from different theme parks. I was trying to play guitar for different theme parks. I was actually supposed to play for Cedar Point in Ohio, Sandusky, Ohio, but that one fell through. Harsh life lesson, things fall through,
Oh
and you
my
can't
gosh.
really 100%
Biggest
depend on it.
biggest
And
lesson
so,
anybody can learn
yeah,
in
pretty much,
music.
yeah.
It's
So
not
pretty
done
much
until it's
overnight, I had
done.
to make the choice. Yeah,
Sorry.
it's not a full opportunity unless you're on stage or you've
Exactly.
signed the checks, you've signed the papers. um but yeah, so I pretty much had to make a choice overnight where it's like, well, where am I gonna go? And I had like $2,000 in my pocket. I used that to buy a plane ticket, uh to move all my stuff all the way from Boston to Los Angeles. I had to phone like a distant family friend that I've met only once and be like, "Hey, could I like crash on your couch?" It's a typical LA story. If you've talked to any, like, I'm sure other musicians as well, not just in LA, but it's a very very familiar story and it's a cliche for a reason. But
It's true.
yeah, so I went there, didn't know anybody, sleeping on the couch of people that I sort of knew but not really. And then I just asked, my friends who were still in Berkeley at the time. I was the first one who made it to LA. A lot of people wanted to go to LA, but I was the first one that made it. I was like, "Do you have any leads. I don't know anybody here. I don't know where to go. And so thankfully, one of my friends who was very, very well connected, even though he was still at Berkeley, I call him kind of like a Pokédex of people. Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, you should hit up these churches, go to these jam sessions. And so I busted my ass, like going to jam sessions like 4 to 5 nights a week, coming home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, shaking hands, exchanging. At first I thought it was business cards, but no, a rude awakening. Nobody uses business cards anymore. Instagram is your business card. So in my spare time during the days, I would, try and grow my Instagram, and then I would have to go to these jam sessions and be like, oh no, I don't know what songs that they're calling out. So anytime there would be like a new song called in a jam session, I had like a Spotify playlist where I'd add everything. And then like during the day, I would just practice all of those songs so that once, I got called up to these jam sessions, I'd be ready. Once I jammed with people, exchange, hey man, you sounded great. You mind if we link up? Blah, 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 blah. You do that enough times, rinse, repeat, and you just keep at it and you stay focused, and it brings you to some interesting places for sure. The whole Madison beer thing kind of happened because of that. I was able to work with Maya as well because of that. Have a lot of friends.
So do you meet somebody that knows? You meet somebody that ends up knowing them, and then, or do you actually meet them as the artist, or how does that work?
So a lot of the time over in, these jam sessions, these are like bars or just places where these musicians just love hanging out. It's just, their chill place. Weed is legal in California. I don't partake myself, but, it's like a typical thing. Yeah, let's kick it with our friends, puff, puff, pass, just exchange, exchange stories of what happened over Coachella. And it's such an interesting thing seeing a lot of musicians that, you might look up to or you might follow on Instagram or whatever. And they're just like talking about, their love lives or like what happened in their gigs, or being like, oh my God, I was so wasted last night. And it's so interesting seeing them as, human beings. They're people that just want to, enjoy, have a good time, while at the same time wanting to just play awesome music. So you link up with these people over time, and then they kind of recognize, okay, you're not just some snotty 24-year-old. I was 24 at the time. You're not some snotty 24-year-old. You're actually here to work, you're serious about your craft.